Welcome to Truth for Our Time with your host, Tamara Scott.
And thanks for joining us. I am Tamara Scott. We are here to help you when the headlines hit home, helping you live God's Word in today's world, because if He expects you to live through it, He has directed you how to do it somewhere in His Word. So thanks for joining us today. If you're here with us at the 10 o'clock hour, live on Fridays, you can join us at Webcast One Live Studios, webcastonelive.com. Always thank you for your participation, and always a little bit surprised and amazed at the numbers of you who join us on Fridays. Thank you. I am so honored by that. On Sunday, you can join us in Central Iowa on 99.3, and we thank the Truth Network for airing the program Sundays in local and Central Iowa. So joining me first today is a guest that we have had on the show before. We broke this story in spite of what other news organizations or pro-life family organizations are now saying in the newsletters. We broke this story last spring before school was out. We interviewed the superintendent, Lori, I think her name is Knoll, parent, on the phone. You can correct me on that wrong if I'm wrong on her name. But
no, you're right.
I'm right. Okay. She came on this show, and which I will always give someone kudos, credit for coming on a show. They don't know what they're getting into. They don't know how it's going to go. And we didn't promise her anything or not promise her anything. We just did an interview because my philosophy is you ought to be able to discuss things as adults, whether you agree, disagree, have a civil discussion or discourse. You ought to be able to discuss it without insults. And she did very well. I did very well. It was very cordial, but we certainly disagree. And when I asked her, remember, this is over the transgender bathroom issue that Obama mandated, though he has no power to do so. He doesn't make law. The Congress does that. He has no power of the purse unless Congress gives it to him. So he just really created an edict with absolutely no power or authority to enforce it. But this school in Fairfield, Iowa, little school, decided they'd go ahead and do it. And when I asked her on air, remember what she said, less than 10, maybe a handful of students would appreciate this, while 600 would feel awkward. 600 would not, this would not help them. And in fact, many of them now have to head out of school during the lunch hour to area businesses to use restrooms after school. They say there's a rush and a demand for students to use restrooms in businesses close by because they no longer feel safe in the restrooms at school. And of course, we know the real issue is the locker rooms, where girls have seen boys walk in just because they can now on a dare. So joining me is the parent from Fairfield. Thank you so much for keeping us abreast of all of this situation and for your diligence as a parent, your courage to stand up. Give us just a little bit. Have you been attacked since you started this battle?
Yes, actually we have. When this first started, basically our first plan of action was to develop a petition and get signatures, which we got about 1,000 signatures on it. And we took it in front of the school board, and at that meeting, Nate Munson, I think you're probably familiar with him, Tamara, but
for our listeners, he is it One Iowa that he is the director of? It's a pro-LGBTQ group that has been responsible for the LGBTQ festivals, or in the spring conferences, the governor's conference on LGBTQ and bullying. And we have now unmasked in the House, thanks to Representative Bobby Kaufman and Representative Greg Hartzell, who have been tireless and have faced their own name-calling and bullying over this. They have continued to investigate to find out the very rotten, scandalous, the things that were promoted in this conference were not only filthy, they were unhealthy for very young children, and they were sexually explicit, so much so that we can't really talk about them on the air. So Nate Munson came to your school?
He came to a board meeting. He actually came to the first board meeting that we had after all of this happened, and then he came to a workshop after that as well and was giving advice to our board members and our superintendent. But he heard me read this petition that we had developed and had signatures on. He heard me read it at the board meeting, and afterwards he went on Facebook He's the founder of Iowa Safe Schools. And he went on their Facebook page and called myself and the other parents a hate group. And that didn't settle very well with us because we have done this in a very loving manner. Just because we don't agree with him or we don't agree with the school's policies does not mean that we don't still love all the children at the school. And we're just uncomfortable with our children being in the same restroom and locker rooms with somebody of the opposite biological sex.
And let me just ask you this as a parent. Sometimes when you scold your child, does it mean you love them less or love them more?
Actually, the Bible says that if you do not scold your children, that you don't love them as much. And I closely follow that because I do not want my children to be raised in an unproductive manner. So
I bring that up because this whole movement, anytime we create any resistance or we uphold any type of a health issue or a concern physically for these kids, they treat us as the hateful folks that we don't love. And I would say to you, it is more loving to correct someone or to hold them to a standard that is healthy for all than to just ignore it or to justify or try to remedy by allowing anything goes. We all know what happens when anything goes, utter chaos and destruction.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you were called names by Nate Munson, who, by the way, for those of you who may not have had any affiliation with him, and I've not had conversation with him, I've just watched from afar, but this is a group that demands tolerance from everyone else.
Yes.
But yet,
yes, his main objective is to prevent bullying, ironically.
And folks, you need to know if there's a bullying program in your school, we have studies that show schools who actually have programs, anti-bullying programs, bullying increases. You're putting it in their minds and you're talking about it to the kids, things they wouldn't have thought about. Bullying actually increases in those schools that have anti-bullying programs. So again, not a healthy way to go about it. Here's the best thing for you, folks. To return to the Bible like we used to in school, the golden rule, treat others as you want to be treated by yourself. One blood, we all come from the same creator, and we all love each other no matter what they're going through and respect them. And Angela, I think that's what you're saying as well. We respect our friends, our neighbors, and our classmates, and we don't mistreat them. Yes,
absolutely.
So what's going on at the fall now? What's taken place since he decided to lash out at all of you as parents and call you names? And what's next?
Well, after that, I had informed the board members and the superintendent of the meeting that was held in Des Moines that you referenced recently, that because he was actually going to come down and do workshops for our teachers and possibly our students as well.
Who was going to pay for all of that?
Probably our school would be my guess, which means the taxpayers.
Sure. Okay.
But so I got the documentation and I sent it to all of them in regards to the meetings that were held at Valley West. And so we have not seen him since then. So I don't know if they have just completely, they don't have contact with him at all anymore, or if he's just not coming to our board meetings. But I did have a couple board members tell me that he would not be stepping foot on our school grounds. That was encouraging.
Was that because of the resistance of your parents?
Well, it was because of the documentation of the investigation that was being held against him.
Oh, very good. So the work of Representative Hartzell and Bobby Kaufman is paying off because the word of what's happening at that conference is actually getting out. Very good. Excellent.
Yes.
They'll be good to know that. All right. So where are we at now? School has started again in Fairfield. And a court in Texas, I believe, has ruled a stay that this edict from Obama has no power and that schools do not in any way have to act on this foolish transgender policy.
Mm-hmm. Well, at our last board meeting, they were getting ready to vote on a best practice guidelines. So I had read to them one of the rulings. It was the one out of Virginia, which is the ruling that Obama based his initial mandate on, for better words. And they didn't care. They still voted on the best practice guidelines. We did have 2 board members that voted no, but they were outnumbered. And so starting the school year, people of the opposite biological sex will be sharing restrooms and locker rooms. And we were promised at the board meeting that we should have absolutely no concerns whatsoever of them actually being exposed to each other. And the day after that board meeting, I had a friend that went to the high school. He walked around and checked out the bathrooms. He took some pictures. One of the bathrooms that he took pictures of is a unisex bathroom. The sign on the door has both male and female on it, so it's very obvious. It has 7 stalls in it. So basically, they lied to us at the board meeting, saying that should not be a concern of ours whatsoever, that girls and boys will not be sharing restrooms, that this is only if a transgender, they have to, go into the office and I can't remember what they called it, pro bona fide. Does that sound right? Anyway, I'm sorry.
But I find it ironic that they keep saying, as much as they keep trying to tell us that gender doesn't matter, they're making all these issues and costly decisions up on imagined gender, or what they call identified gender. But gender's not supposed to matter.
Right. Yes. Well, anyway, so he took those pictures. People went to the middle school, took pictures. One of the boys' restrooms has several stalls in it that don't have doors at all. I mean, it's not private whatsoever. And so that's what our kids started the school year with. And I don't know if they plan on making the situation more private. Honestly, it doesn't matter to me how private it is. My children no longer go to that school.
And how many other parents made decisions to pull their kids out of that school?
Well, I don't know an exact number, but I have a few different friends. One of the families, they just packed up and moved, just left their house and took their kids and moved to a different location so that they could enroll their kids in a different school. Another family pulled their kids out and they're now homeschooling. And so those are just 2 people that I am very close to that took their kids out.
I think you'll see more and more. I think you'll see, and I hope you see more kids pulling their kids out to homeschool, not just because of the bathroom issue, because of the whole public education realm, but I hope more parents will consider homeschooling their kids. And I commend all of you who have made this effort to now drive your children further to another school district for the safety of your kids, because your own school district, which should be under local control, is no longer listening to you, nor are they making wise, healthy decisions based on science, based on DNA, but rather based on trends and fads that are coming through as movements. They're very, very disturbing and disappointing. I thank you. Is there anything in closing before we head to break?
Well, I was just going to say, I think that more people would have transferred their kids to a different school, but our superintendent said that she would deny anybody that wanted to open enroll their kids. So,
unfortunate. She thinks she has that kind of power. Very unfortunate, and something we need to change at the legislature. Open enrollment, school choice needs to happen for everyone, not just the rich who can afford to pay property tax and a school tuition. got to let you go. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for keeping us updated. Fairfield, Iowa, traumatic school situation. Folks, we'll be right back. We'll be talking more about education. We're kind of doing some housekeeping today and catching you up on things you need to know about your kids. Stay tuned. 99.3 FM, webcast1live.com. Tamara Scott, Truth for Our Time.
Thanks, Tamara.
Thank you.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
Hey, everybody, I brought Northern Lights Pizza, and it's got Graziano sausage.
Rock and Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens. Rock on. This is Pat McManus for Rock and Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
And you're listening to Tamara Scott Live with Truth for Our Time. Thank you so much for tuning in. That was our Fairfield parent giving you the update on what we started in this show at the studio way back in spring. Folks, please understand, you are responsible for your children. I get the responsibility when you leave them with their principal or teacher, they're responsible as well. But you are responsible. Overall, you. And if God has given you your kids, he will equip you how to take care of your kids. And if you're one of those parents who thinks you can't homeschool, that you don't have the ability, I want you to think that over. I want you to pray about it. If it's something you're wanting to do, or even more, if your kids are asking you to do, I beg you. If your kids are asking you to homeschool, I beg you to listen to them. If you're not sure about it, if you have concerns about it, contact me through this radio station or through this show. truthforourtime@gmail.com, truthforourtime@gmail.com. I don't have the answers. I'll get you with someone who does. I did homeschool two of mine. I had 4 kids, 10 years apart. And in that 10 years, I could see the decline. It was so visible in the public schools. And I finally realized after watching note after note after note come home from school with grammar error, with spelling error, with warning about head lice, with warning about strep throat, I finally realized the danger my children were in, and my husband said this to me. Tamara, say you miss something. You're worried about math. You're worried about algebra, calculus. Say you miss something. That gap will be better for those kids than that crap. Sorry, folks, but that crap that they're getting at the public school. And it was true. The hours that they were filling with nonsense, teaching kids how to have safe sex, which is just doesn't fly. It just My husband asked the health teacher, do you teach them how to drive drunk safely? She was appalled. He said, no, seriously, it's not without risk, just like your safe sex is not without risk. Why don't you just teach them how to drive on the back roads with the headlights dim and then teach them to make sure they go the speed limit because drunks often don't. He said, well, 1 in 4 kids is going to end up with an STD. But you don't teach them the dangers. You don't teach them the way out. Abstinence works. God's plan for marriage works. But you won't teach them that. So that's a whole nother subject on the sex ed. But we realized the time they spent on depression, on diseases, it's no wonder kids are coming out of schools depressed and despondent. And of course, now I hear the IOU survey is popping back up. It must be that year for them to test the 3rd, 5th, and 8th graders. The 5th, 8th, and 11th graders. And remember, it was that test that I told you about clear back 3 studios ago. So I know it was before 2005, 2006. I remember it was around 2002 we were talking about this. Students were asked questions, 5th grade students, not if you've ever thought about suicide, but how. How would you commit suicide? Why would you ask a 5th grader that? And then you wonder why we see an increased number of kids committing suicide. You just don't know when you put your kids in the public school what they are going to hear, let alone from the other kids, but from the teachers. And I know we have good teachers there. I'm thankful for the good teachers we have in the schools, just like you have good doctors at the VA, but the VA is still failing our veterans. The schools are failing our students. This is not a condemnation on good teachers that you know, but it has become such an overreaching, far-reaching, federalized, institutionalized failure. You need to take care of your kids, and the best thing you can do for them is earnestly educate them, which will teach 2 generations at one time. And if you can't do it, then find a private school that possibly can. But at the very least, you are responsible to know what's happening in your public schools, and that's why Lynn is joining me today. Lynn Taylor, we know her as Common Core Diva. She is on top of all this, and man, I can't even keep up with her knowledge and what she can just unravel in these bills. Lynn, thanks for joining us. Lynn, can you hear us? We can hear her on one line. Lynn, can you hear us now? we see her, we hear her on the phone line. You just can't hear her out there on your line. While we're trying to get her, there are 4 bills that are coming out that are going to be, your legislators are going to be dealing with in Washington, D.C. Lynn has, once again, broken those down, written about them, and given you the information you need to have on them. You don't have to be an expert on them to talk to your legislators. In fact, they prefer not to get lengthy, long emails or phone messages. So what you can do is just give them the number and then vote yes or vote no. And I'm taking it, most of these are a vote no. And then you can just leave that message with their office. And I'll put that number up right now, 202-224-3121, 202-224-3121. You are awesome, Goose. My producer, always ready to handle every situation. He's in there multitasking. That number you can call anytime to get a hold of any U.S. congressional member or senator. And so, Lynn, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Ms. Tamara. I hope we can now communicate.
I was going to be so disappointed. I know, and we've already got to maybe a few a little bit into our break, but we'll have a break here shortly. But I want you just list the bill names right here. We've got 4 bills you're going to be talking about. Give us the numbers and the names so folks can write it down right now.
Okay. The ones that we absolutely need to be all over Congress about are House Resolution 5587, that is strengthening career tech education in the 21st century. Then there is a companion bill from the Senate. It is S 3271, and it's known as the Workforce Advance Act. Both of these will ramp up the Common Core career tech education. Now, a lot of people think that career tech education, because it has a different name, is not Common Core. But according to my research, years ago when career tech was just being renamed, because it used to be vocational tech, that's what I remember in high school and community college and all that. But it got a name makeover, and in the middle was Career Common Core Technical Education. So it's been shortened to Career Tech Ed. The Common Core was taken out so that it could be that tactic that we've seen the Common Core machine use so many times, and that is a name change. And therefore, since it's not Common Core, or Common Core is not in the name, it's not related. Well, folks, I'm here to tell you it absolutely is related. And so both these bills are going to increase the amount of Common Core career tech workforce-based education starting in middle school. And the reason I know this is because through the Every Student Succeeds Act, it embedded the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. It also tied into the Higher Education Act. And the common denominator is going to be these career tech education classes. So both of these bills, one from the House and one from the Senate, are coming at this ramping up of the career tech education from 2 separate angles. The Senate is a little less, but they want to data mine and assess your child more than ever. The House bill wants to make sure that you have more public-private partnerships in your education. They want to make sure that you have career exploration activities in school, out of school, in your community. So we're not talking just school alignment. We're talking community alignment. So those 2 bills.
Okay,
the other
and let's just let people know the data mining. What they're doing is, you think of this for yourself, folks. How many folks do you know that maybe have a degree in one area, but they're not working in that area? They are not what they thought they wanted to do when they went into college was not what they ended up doing, or they do now. Think how much more in middle school. What these kids may be showing an interest in may not be what they're interested in by the time they graduate. And what this does is it puts them in a funnel or a chute, like the old game Chutes and Ladders, and they will not have a choice. They will be on such a path that they won't get the other options because they won't get classes down the road. They won't be able to go pursue colleges that they'd like to go to if this takes place. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
Right, that is. And then the data mining that we also need to be concerned about, Tamara, is that through the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, the data mining comes from the Department of Labor side and trickles back down to the Department of Education Student Longitudinal Data System. So the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act had a caveat in it. It is called the WQDI, which stands for Workforce Quality Data Initiative. The states were incentivized to get that sort of data going so that they can assess you after you've graduated high school or college through your career and continue to align what you do in adult education.
So all of you who hated the idea of being tested in high school, and I still have, I haven't had it for a while, but those dreams about missing the test, you're late for the test. Now they're going to be testing you in your career consistently and deciding what? If they've got you placed right, if you need to be moved?
Right, exactly. One of the biggest tools that we can look for to have this is from an adult level, and this would be used in high school as well. It's called Work Keys, and that's WORK, capital KEYS. It is produced and written by the ACT Incorporated, which gives us the ACT test, which is Common Core aligned. This Work Keys is being used throughout the nation, Tamara, like I said, in high schools, but in job-seeking services that are especially are state-run because they're receiving the funding to do this. And it takes what you're good at or what you show an interest in and aligns your career or your job to that particular occupation. And let's say we hated it. I mean, look at the way God has us learn. We don't always have the same job that we study for, as you just pointed out. But these tests, these types of assessments that will be used on any age person, align you to a workforce-based education system.
And for those folks who may have gone to, is it Briggs? I can't remember what the name of it is, where you can have your personality tested and test for your strengths as an adult. Some folks have done that and found it helpful that they, may have a career change or something that they might not have known they were interested in. That's not what we're talking about here.
No, absolutely not. No. I can give you an example, and there is a video on YouTube that is absolutely chilling in my perspective, Tamara, and it is this one employer. He's an employer of a small business down in the state of Georgia, and he is doing a promotional video for this Work Keys assessment, and he basically is telling you in this video, if you do not have the Work Keys assessment, if you have not been aligned to a specific career, do not bother coming to his business because he will not hire you. The Work Keys is opening the door for the national credentialing so that these chunkable, stackable credits that you can earn through career tech education and career pathways and career clusters and all these other names that they stick on it will follow you, much like a record. You remember the permanent record that was going to follow us the rest of our lives?
Right.
Well, this national credentialing is putting that into motion, only it's doing it so that if you don't have a credential, a national credential for work in a trained field, you don't get a job.
And we've got to go to break here shortly. This is Lynn Taylor, Common Core Diva. We'll be back with the other two bills and more information for you. It's the housekeeping as we head into fall and some of the kids do head back to school or you're homeschooling at home. We're going to do a little housekeeping here and what you can do to protect your family and your future. Stay tuned. Tamara Scott, Truth for Our Time.
Northern Lights Pizza's amazing garlic butter makes amazing breadsticks. Now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza. I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Hobbs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed, fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're going to make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money-back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
And you are listening to Tamara Scott Live with Truth for Our Time, helping you when the headlines hit home. On the phone line is Lynn Taylor, the Common Core Diva, who investigates and then regurgitates all this information for the rest of us so we have a chance at understanding it. So for our listeners, HR 5587, Strengthening Career Tech Ed in the 21st Century, and S 3271, both of the Workforce Advance Act. Both of those are a no, Lynn. All they need to do is write or call their congressional members, or if they see them here at home before they head back to the D.C. area for after Labor Day, they just tell them no on either of those bills. Vote no against those bills.
Right, because what both of these bills are going to do, Tamara, is they're going to be working on what's called an ROI model, and that is a return on investment, but we're talking people. So anytime we're using return on investment, that should be about money. It should be about business. People are not something that we need to be making ROI models for, but that is one of the underwritten agenda points of this whole workforce-based education shift that we're seeing. And one of the things that I wanted to point out to everyone, say no to these, because it doesn't matter what school choice you use. At some point in your life, these will impact you to align you to a specific career that you may not even want.
So even those of us who invested our time, did without things at home because one parent stayed home and homeschooled our kids, they will fall into these traps when they get in past high school and get into the education arena or college.
Absolutely. And what we can do is we can, instead of just running scared, what we can do, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I faced that very same situation. That's what got me started in this fight against the national shift of education, is that I had answered God's call, my husband and I had, and I gave up a career, stayed home, schooled 3 children, 23 years in all I devoted to their education. They all graduated. They're now out in the post-secondary education world. They've already run into the indoctrination there. It's alive and well, and I have found so many places. But what I would want to encourage those who are currently homeschooling, yes, you've answered God's call. You are protecting your kids. You're doing exactly what you need to do, which is you're taking the responsibility. Know where this is hiding. Arm your children, because that's what we need to do. That's what David did. He knew where the enemy was, and he knew how to be protected, and that's what we can do to keep continuing our homeschooling no matter what happens.
Very good. And so I want to move on to, and if you will take the video you mentioned of the employer and post it on our Truth for Our Time page. I know there's also a Stop Common Core Iowa page. If you post it on maybe 1 or 2 of those, that would be helpful. But at the Truth for Our Time Facebook page for our viewers and listeners, that would be helpful. But let's get to the next 2 bills we want to warn people about. Did I lose her again? Miss Lynn, Miss Common Core Diva. Interesting.
Okay.
There, Lynn, are you there?
Yes, I am. I have not moved. I'm in the one spot I know works.
Oh, it is one of those days. When I came in, it was just kind of I don't know what it is in your state, but here it was just kind of one of those gloomy, overcast days. And so
it's absolutely gorgeous here.
Oh, it is? Well, good. We'll share some of your sunshine But it's just kind of interesting how some of those things work. So sorry, folks, about that. We are live. This is live broadcasting, and this is what happens. So, Lynn, let's get to those next two bills.
Right. It just goes to show you that, you have to keep persevering no matter what technical yahoo you run into, because there's a force that doesn't want this information to get out, and we keep going because we have to. I mean, truth wins.
I do believe that. And I want to come back. You just said something. Sometimes it doesn't go as you planned. That return on investment, and I get that. We see that on money, and that's fine when we're dealing about how we best spend our money. But how many times have you seen one of your kids or yourself try something and it failed? And so there's no return financially. You made nothing on the deal, but the lesson was valuable for you.
Absolutely. And, this is one of the things that I see the Common Core machine do is, now suddenly it's cool to fail because failing teaches. Well, duh, we've known that since dirt was invented. Of course it does, but we don't make a national standard out of it. You get back up, you dust yourself off, you don't do it again, you go and you do something else. And this is the way God wired us. This is why I'm not doing what I studied for in high school or college. Right. I'm totally doing something else. We cannot see our future leaders, our children, our grandchildren, or even those of us who are going back to classes to, recertify. We don't need to be locked into some system that someone else has designed for my life.
Right.
That's just wrong.
I think the scripture verse says man plans his path and God directs his steps.
Right.
And that's what we need to remember. Common Core allows no God to enter in because the Common Core folks in the public schools are atheist and don't believe in a God like we do. All right, let's move over to the two other bills. Just a couple minutes left.
Right, okay. S3190, Strengthening Our Rural Health Workforce Act of 2016. The reason this one's a bad one is because this will directly tie your Common Core career tech courses, training, and credentials into health care, especially in rural areas. Your states are going to be rewarded for the more alignment they have, the more funding they'll get. Okay? This one also ties in, I hope you're ready for this, the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, the Public Health Service Act, your Social Security Act, and it also meddles with your Medicare. So again, this is a huge, huge problem because we cannot keep finding ways to insert Common Core into everything, but our government is doing it.
So just list very quickly all those things it ties into again. Medicaid, health care.
Okay. The Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, the Public Health Service Act, the Social Security Act, and your Medicare. And what they're going to be using part of this for is not just the career tech education, but your social, emotional, behavior health services for your 21st century community learning centers. That's also embedded in ESA.
So for those of us who may not agree with the recent LGBTQ trends and these transgender bathrooms and some of this, that would be a health care issue with our social and emotional well-being, wouldn't it?
Absolutely it would. And we're doing this to the Common Core career tech way of living. Now, our last one, and this one is, in my researched opinion, Tamara, this last one is the one I would love to see such an outrage from our nation, and here's why. This one is called S3174, Leveling Access to Demonstrated Drivers of Employment Results Act, or shortened, it's the Ladder Act, okay? The biggest problem with this one, it creates a whole new interagency that is protected in the executive branch. It will be an independent council, and they will have the power to create a national workforce plan. Now, let me tell you who all is supposed to be on this particular council. The secretaries or their designated appointees of the following federal departments: Agriculture, Education, Labor, Health and Human Services, Transportation, Housing and Urban Development, Veteran Affairs. It also will include the Commissioner of Social Security, the Director of Equal Opportunity Commission, the Director of the Office of Budget and Management, and our Attorney General.
Where can people find more information on this? Give them your blog site.
Okay. You can find that I have written every one of these bills up in precise points as to why these are egregious, and you can find me at commoncorediva.wordpress.com. I'm also on Twitter at Common Core Diva. I'm on Facebook at Common Core Diva. And we have a national campaign. I'm going to be working with Women on the Wall. We're going to be doing getting in touch with Congress.
And we'll talk to Alice as well. We're out of time. Stay tuned. We'll be back after these messages.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids? Yeah!
If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens. Rock on. This is Pat McManus for Rockton Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
Northern Lights Pizza, your home of the tasty crust. Our garlic butter sauce now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano.
Northern Lights Pizza. Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common, everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Host Tamara Scott.
And thanks for staying tuned with us. I am Tamara Scott. You are watching Truth for Our Time. Thank you for giving us your time as we help you live God's Word in today's world. So that was Lynn Taylor. You can find her at commoncorediva.wordpress.com. commoncorediva.wordpress.com, and she'll have, of course, more information breaking down those bills for you. But we've given you 4 bills, and I will try and list just those bill numbers on the Facebook page of Truth for Our Time, just so you have those briefly, quickly for you. And remember, you don't have to know a lot. Your legislators don't want to hear a lot. Now, if you have one who has learned to trust you and will want more information, Lynn will certainly get more information to you. And as I said, she's available at commoncorediva.wordpress.com. You can find her on Facebook. You can find her on Twitter, Common Core Diva, and she'll be glad to help you through that. Again, I want to talk to you about, don't think that somebody else can better raise your children than you can. God gave them to you, and he'll equip you to take care of them. And we are in incredible times as what's happening in our school, in our country. And I am so heartbroken over the number of parents who just can't understand how they've lost their kids, the kids who are now distraught emotionally or need counseling or are addicted or have behavioral issues or can't hold a job. And I just wonder how much money you'd be willing to spend in counseling, or how much money you'd be willing to spend even on an attorney to help a child who's gotten themselves in trouble, how much money you could have prevented and saved by keeping them at home and homeschooling yourself, by making sure that they are fed into through the Holy Scriptures and by what is best for them and God's plan for them. They won't need the testing and the career paths of man when they have God directing them and they've learned to listen to his voice. So if you're listening out there today, no condemnation from me, not any whatsoever. I had to go through public. I had to go through homeschool. And I will tell you this, I am the poster child for any dummy can do it. I was not confident at all about the homeschooling, but my kids were begging me to do it. And I was so glad we did. There was a new peace in our home that I didn't know was missing. We enjoyed our lives. We were happy. I was volunteering in 4 different school buildings. Wherever my kids were, I was volunteering in some capacity, trying to be involved. And I realized I could not possibly be involved in every moment and stop every foul thing that was going to be said or misteaching that was going to be given. And the year I brought them home, 2001, we were so thankful that when the towers were going down, my kids were safe under my arms, and we were able to discuss it from a godly perspective and know that our hope came from the Lord, not from man. And no matter what hit us, financially, physically, emotionally, mentally, whatever the challenge, our God was going to be with us. And I was able to give my kids that courage, and he saw us through. Both of them had college educations, great scholarships, or educations provided for them if they chose to take it. And not all of them have as much as I would like, but they had it before them. God provided college free for one of them if they so chose to take it. Imagine that. God saw me through, met me, and matched me with my request. If you're out there, I beg you to lay it before the Lord, what's best for your children, because what's happening in the public schools today is not healthy. It is a battlefield, and no more than would you send your kids in uniform that is too big for them over to Afghanistan or Iraq or Iran or any of those troubled areas because they can't even fit in the uniform. Then you shouldn't be sending them to school to deal with conversations and topics that are far past where they are able to handle right now. Or should you expect them to be the missionary that some of you say that you send them to school to be? That's your job. That's my job. That's the teacher's job. And yes, they can have a witness. They certainly can have an impact, and God can use anything. But you shouldn't send them in to do your work. You should take the schools back first through your communities, through your school boards, and quit expecting them to do what you're afraid to do over the water cooler at work yourself. And all that money you may gain in your income, the boat that you may be able to buy, the vacation you may be able to take, will never be worth what you could have given your child later when they need it, because they have fallen apart. Their life hasn't gone as planned. They have some issue behaviorally, depression, emotionally, because they haven't been equipped. They're now dealing with issues. Save the money and invest it, the time, in your child. That money that you don't bring into your home will be maybe better off, save you from what you have to spend later on other issues. Just think it through. Lay it out. Okay, a couple more things. And I'm just going to take this opportunity now to do this. I don't always get political, but we've been fairly open in the last parts of the show. I'm just going to... Hillary Clinton has now lowered herself to throwing racist attacks around, not just at Trump, but at you and I. Anybody who supports a Trump is now a racist, according to her. And as they said, it's predictable. It's what the left does when they can't win the argument on logic. They call names and try to destroy your character. We've seen it over and over again. Ironically, it's an old immunization tactic that was back around in the days of 2000, years ago. If you are going to get blamed for something, or you know you have a skeleton in your closet, you blame your opponent for it. And that way, when it comes back to you, it's just not such a shock to the public. Hillary Clinton, we now have one of the news websites saying that she has accepted $20,000 in donations this year from the KKK. Plus, we also have the Hillary 2016 movie that ties the Democratic Party so closely throughout time with the KKK. So Donald Trump is not a racist. In fact, what his policies are, and I don't have that website in front of me either, but is saying that his policies will actually be better off for minorities. It'll give them freedom and the ability to make changes for themselves. It'll be better for them with security and law enforcement. It'll be better for them with education and with job opportunity. And that's the freedom and liberty that really allows people to set their own course. Hillary wants to keep them under her thumb and under her what they're now calling the plantation of the left, the enslavement of the entitlements. Entitlement entangles, because you're limited as what you can bring in. Somebody else has control of what your highest level of income can be. Get out from under that, set your own destiny, and choose your own course. Now, for those of you who think you don't like Donald Trump, I'm going to go through this, and I hope I have. I'm not going to have time. I'll have to do that another week. I'm going to go for it. Winston Churchill. They said he was bold, he was brash, he was ill-behaved. And that may be true, but he was exactly what we needed for World War II, to get the UK and the U.S. out in the best possible light, because he was willing to face the enemy, call them out, and have the courage to attack them and defeat them. Donald Trump is bold. He's been called brash, and some people say he's ill-behaved. I would tell you he may just be the man we need to stand up to those who have been bullying us, like the left, like those inside the U.S., and those outside the U.S. When we hear that Barack Obama is willing to take another 100,000 refugees, as Brigitte Gabriel told us last week, we don't even get to vet them. The UN vets them. I'm thrilled to have a Donald Trump who will stand up and risk being called names to protect those of us here, those of us who Hillary took an oath to protect in the Constitution and has failed to do so. So he may be bold, he may be brash, he may be ill-behaved. I don't believe as much as the media would like you to believe, but he may just be what we need for this time to help us through this course in history and call out those enemies. I've got on the Facebook Truth for Our Time some more links from Leo Holman at the terrorist attacks that you're no longer hearing about. Almost every 48 hours, there's a huge terrorist attack or a bigger terrorist attack, like the recent one on American University in Afghanistan. But there's single ones that you're not hearing about where all have Muslim connections below them. You'll get that on the Facebook. We're out of time. I am Tamara Scott. I hope you've been encouraged. Be encouraged and never be complacent.